Chase Smith writes in and says, Ben Hanson's, that's my own name, admittance to being a huge baby about using Oculus Rift alone got me thinking, what is the scariest VR game scenario each of you can think of? His example, which sure, Chase, is would you play a VR game alone where in the game you're in a home knowing that a murderer is going to break in and attack you, but you don't know when or how, and your only weapons are items lying around the house, but if you survive, you get a cash prize. Thanks for your feedback. Sweet dreams.
You know,
that's a great idea.
That reminds me of the first Scream movie with Drew Barrymore's character in the house where she gets that phone call and then you see him kind of darting from room to room. Absolutely terrifying. The best part of that movie.
So you want a VR game with a phone call and then just finding someone's in the house?
Well, I mean, that would be absolutely terrifying, especially if you go down into like a, I don't know, moist basement or something, or, you know, like up into like a dirty attic or something. I don't know.
Are you making callbacks to the off-air conversation?
Moist basement, dirty attic, messy living room,
musty recliner,
greasy kitchen.
These were all...
That would be terrifying. That would be absolutely horrific.
Yeah.
Anything on top of that? Wow.
I think
because you're in your own home, you know, you're comfortable, but there's something in there. We've all had that moment where you're in your house alone and you hear something and you kind of panic, right?
That's
you
every 15 minutes of my life.
Yeah. See, for me, I think there's a difference. Like, I think that game, as being described, would actually be like a fun, good horror game, like scary but good. For me, the idea of like being actually like disturbed or like genuinely frightened by something, I think for me would have to be something like a car wreck simulator or something like that.
Oh my! Like watching people around you die.
Yeah, like being like a VR game that like puts you in a car wreck would to me be the thing that would like make me like scared or sick.
I'm getting scared just thinking about that.
The other one for me would be, you know, like the home is that kind of unknown element that you're scared of, right? Like what's going to happen. But like Saw, I think those movies were pretty brilliant in that you knew the rules, you knew the time, and having that timer tick down and then something horrible happening would be terrifying in VR, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Like a drowning game or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's the room's filling with water. Or
I guess Adrift does that a little bit, don't they? Like,
you run out of air.
Yeah,
but it's
for sure.
What about a game where you're
scenario,
like standing on a really high ledge or the edge of a building and there's just someone just running at you like full speed?
All right, well, this is exactly where I'm going with this, which is like Anthony Gallegos, who's a developer at Gazillion. He's on Rebel FM, the podcast I've listened to a lot. He was talking about how there should be a VR game because there's, with a sense of presence, when something like big walks in your close to you, it feels weird. It feels like it's actually intimidating.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it.
And so he came up just off the top of his head of a game called Personal Space Invaders, where it's just rows of humans slowly marching towards you, and you have to try and take them out, but they're just getting closer and closer to you with like this blank stare on their faces. It is so terrifying.
Just breathing through their noses, or through their mouths.
They can just
really
look like
heavily.
corporate business people, but just slowly walking towards you. And it's like when they're getting close, it feels like they're really like right up in your
Jesus
business.
And you get more points
breast
the closer
pockets.
they get. Is that kind of the thing? Because otherwise you're just going to flail and they're never going to get close to you.
Also, I had the ideal VR game. I want this more than anything now, but I was recently in a mysterious place with a lot of museums. And I don't know if this is an unhealthy urge within me, but every time I'm in a museum, I just think and daydream about destroying everything. Like taking a sledgehammer to like old Greek marbles, just going nuts. Basically like the Joker in 1989.
You should watch Last Man on Earth. That's pretty much half that show.
That's true. But I want a VR game where you just have a sledgehammer or like a jackhammer, anything you want, and it's like, you have 5 minutes in this famous museum, go. And just destroy as much as you possibly can. Basically like the Saints Row, what's that called? The insurance fraud thing.
Right.
Yeah,
Love
just
it.
draw as many mustaches on these paintings as you can.
Wouldn't that be great?
That's fun. That is a great idea.
Dangerous Golf.
Yeah.
You might have something like that, like a museum level or something, where you just try to break as much as you can within
It's
the room.
similar, but I want to like slowly dismantle some old statues or just destroy this thing that's 5,000 years
Monet
old.
gallery and just go nuts.
I thought of another scary game.
Yeah.
Being swallowed and digested.
What the hell?
I'm thinking things
By
just
like a giant human? Or
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay.
So the very beginning of the game, it's like losing the boss fight in Final Fantasy that we talk about, where it's just the very beginning, you're like, oh, you're just eating, and then the rest is you being pumped through a system until you come out
In
of
fact,
butt.
I saw Pinocchio. It's not that bad.
You know what
light a fire.
You know what I like actually is a
like
game
a moist basement.
Is a game where that's like the kicker, but you think it's a different game. You think it's like a narrative indie relationship building game, and instead you and all your friends get eaten at the very end, and you
It's
watch
like-
them get like masticated, and then
I feel
you're
like it's
slowly
like Attack on
digested.
Titan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, it'd be tough because like the toughest thing I'd imagine about getting eaten, other than the teeth, is like not having air. So like trying to simulate that suffocation might be tough, but just like being in the confined space of like undulating weird red flesh. That's what's going to do it for
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
You realize some people are super into it. It's called a vor fetish, right? Specifically the Brian Vore fetish. Brian Vore, formerly Game Informer, told us all about it.
Brian, Vore told us about voring.
His real last name is Thompson, but he's such a crazy Vore fetishist that he changed his last name.